Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PIPCAST 3000, episode 42. I'm Caedo Genesis, and this is a bi-weekly podcast that we put up every other Sunday where we talk about gaming and Fallout and possibly Elder Scrolls and also other things that are related to the things that we cover. I'm joined by my co-hosts, BADCompanySarge.
Howdy.
And Jared of Jared Gaming.
Hello.
And I wanted to take a moment to do a little side promotion discussion thing, because Jared, you started a little podcasty thing yourself. Eh?
I did. I did not think we were going to talk about that.
I just dropped it on you.
Sheesh. Okay, yeah. You know, it's been something that me and some friends have been wanting to do for a long time, and getting the opportunity to do this with you guys has really been the only exposure that I've had to doing podcasts, but it has kind of given me the tools and a little bit of knowledge and a little bit more confidence to do it, and we just decided to just friggin' do it, so we did it. It's only one thing so far, you know, it's the start.
Yeah. It's new.
Yeah. So it's gonna give me the opportunity to explore different things creatively. So I'm pretty excited about it. Actually, it's check it out.
So
yeah,
absolutely. We'll link it down below for those that are interested in more podcasts.
About
at the moment, this is still kind of
at
primarily
the moment.
about gaming.
That's
too,
what I do.
I'm guessing. I mean, I listen to it. There's a lot of gaming
anyways,
stuff.
So we might try to delve into some other things because he has interests of his own as well, and it's kind of a two-way thing, a co joint operation. So I don't want it to just be me and my ideas. We might explore like some music stuff, and I don't know. Yeah, it's in such a stage of infancy at the moment that we don't really know. We're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what's gonna stick. You know, we're at that point in things. So going with what I know right now, that's why it's very bare bones, very basic, very familiar, because doing this podcast with you guys is the only exposure to podcasting that I have. So it's a learning. It's fun so far, and I'm looking forward to where it goes. It's exciting.
Awesome. So if you also want to be hip, those of you listening, if you want to be hip and listen to something before it gets big, you could, go listen to the JMB podcast. And also tell Jared to play Prey 2017, because he hasn't, but he plays horror games.
Well,
and he should.
See, that's I have it and I've played it, but like only like an hour of it. I just kind of it's just one of those games that fell through my fingers at the time, and I just
you need more.
I know
you need more of it. Okay, well,
anyways,
we have a tip of the day and the comment of the cast that we do every episode, and the tip of the day, would somebody like to tell everyone the super important tip of the day? Either one of you.
I'm not going to say it. You guys made up this tip of the day when I wasn't here, and I've got no idea what's going on with it.
Tip of the day: keep your shoes tied, because it's a hazard. Otherwise, you might trip and hurt yourself. So keep those laces tied.
Loop the loop and round and through, however you.
That's right. The rabbit goes around in the tunnel and out the end, and something. I can't remember how it goes either, but it's something like that.
It's been a long time since kindergarten.
That's what I was saying. Just stick with Velcro if you can't handle that.
Yeah,
so.
like Jared's on point here for just making it easy on yourself and going with Velcro or even like slip-on shoes that fit right, because
like boat shoes, like you wear on your yacht shoes, loafers or something.
Yeah. So if you're thinking ahead and know that you're not going to tie your shoes and instead go that route, man, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah. But definitely keep your shoes tied.
But anyway, the topic we had for the last PIPCAST, and I don't think you were here for it, Jared, but we were talking about our favorite builds or the best builds in Fallout, and actually Mantis Sarge and myself all had different best builds that we suggested.
Oh.
So we got some comments related to that, but I picked one that wasn't related to the topic at all.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Which was by Ethan Good, and he was talking about the government dropping nuclear keycards in Fallout 76. I'm assuming was the reason for that was that it was for, in the event of nuclear war, they could respond to attacks, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what the drones are for, yeah. And I shot one down yesterday, and it was a huge pain. It was fun. But also, you made a note on Avowed that I forgot to mention during the podcast, which is Obsidian's new reveal, new Skyrim killer, as a lot of people like to say, but I don't believe it. That it's in the Pillars of Eternity universe.
Yeah.
And I didn't make that connection because I haven't played Pillars of Eternity for more than a few minutes. Pillars of Eternity is my prey.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So thank you, Ethan Good, for that clarification. That means there's established lore ahead of time, which means which if Avowed takes off, it might be a similar situation to like even the newer Fallout games, where people will actually go back to the games that aren't played as much to learn more about the game world.
That'd be cool.
That would be.
I doubt it's going to happen, but I'd love it if it did.
Yeah. Our topic for today, our Fallout topic, I was complained at a couple of times about when the topic happened. It is later in the podcast. We do talk about news first. If you want to hear the topic and none of the news, then you can use the timestamps on screen because that's why they're there. But we have quite a few fun news topics, and there could be some fun rant potential too. Isn't that right, Sarge?
Oh, yes. Do you want me to get started on the first one, where everyone leaves
Begin.
a dislike? Fortnite stealing your iPhone! Ah! So, yeah, that's not happening. I'm seeing a fair few hot takes, which always happens whenever Epic Games is in the news at all, even though most of the time, when Epic Games is in the news, it's for something positive, but then gets shown as negative because they made Fortnite.
Yeah.
Which annoys me, because here's the thing. I have defended Epic Games several times on this podcast. I want to make it clear that I'm not, like, unequivocally pro-Epic no matter what. It's simply a case of the times when they're being criticised are very rarely times where it's something that's legitimate criticism. It's normally like misheard information
or something that even matters.
Yeah. Like, if it comes out that Epic's paying its employees too low or something, I'll be like, yeah, criticize them as much as you want for that. Or if Epic suddenly turns out to be a three-headed dragon that's trying to eat our souls, then yeah, criticize them for that. That's allowed. But a lot of the time it's stupid stuff. Now, the latest one, there's some valid criticism first off. I don't want to make this completely unclear. But essentially what's happening here is Epic Games has filed a complaint for injunctive relief against Apple. Now, this complaint is out in the public. It is a 65-page document, though, so I'm guessing none of you are going to read it. That's fine, because I read the entire thing, because that's the kind of person I am.
Wow.
And yeah, I've literally read the entire thing. On top of this, something I do legitimately like about Epic is they don't use a ton of legalese. So the same with their TOS, and within this document, it's all in plain English, so I didn't have to look up, like, a single word. It was lovely. But essentially, the, like, bare bones of it is Epic doesn't like the fact that Apple has a monopoly over iOS, which is their own operating system within iPhones. I'm trying to make sure I don't make this too complicated, which is quite difficult. But yeah. Epic's not happy about the monopoly Apple has on its own customer base within its own ecosystem, and wants that to change. Now, the actual injunctive relief complaint isn't Epic trying to get a monetary kind of payback for costs. It's trying to change what Apple does. So, regardless of what you feel about Epic, even if you hate them, like, completely, this isn't, like, Epic suing Apple for money. It's Epic taking legal action against Apple to make Apple change rather than just give me cash, please. So,
it's holding Apple accountable, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's
Like
worth keeping
where only so many can actually do that.
Yeah, and it's worth keeping in mind that Apple and Google, who is involved with this as well, but I'm not going to touch them as much just because they're like a step down. So some of this will apply to Google, some of it will not. But yeah, both Apple and Google, along with other big companies, Facebook, are in a big like antitrust thing at the moment. That's like gone to Senate, I think now.
Wow.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it might be at that stage. Like it's big. It's like big American law. This is also the complaint for injunctive relief is under California law. That's something interesting you find out from in the thing. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert specifically on California law. So what Apple does that Epic specifically points out several times is Apple has a 30% tax on in-app purchases on iOS. So you're going through Apple's like own API. They're basically processing the transaction, they take all the data and stuff at the same time. So Apple, yeah, of course they're taking your data whenever you use one of their... Like, anything you do on an Apple phone, Apple knows about it, is, like, the most simple way to say it. They have, like, 100% of the data, and there's no, like, proper workaround for that, because Apple owns everything about the Apple stuff.
Apple owns you!
Yep. If you're on a Mac, which is something Epic points out in this complaint, if you're on a Mac, then that can be kind of circumnavigated through, like, something as big as a VPN, or even just if you're on, like, Chrome instead and go through Amazon, you don't pay through Apple, you pay through, like, PayPal or your own card, and it goes through Amazon services and stuff. And that's important for, like, an open market, so that people aren't charging 30% tax just so you can pay with their payment system. Like, imagine... If you use PayPal a lot, imagine if PayPal took 30% of, like, every payment.
Yeah, that would be a huge pain. So that may be in part, like, Apple just making this a thing and having it be a thing for so long. Do you think that helped in-app purchases become so egregious and normalized at the same time?
Yeah, well, they mention in the complaint as well that a consumer isn't going to think about the cost of in-app purchases when they purchase a phone. When you look at phone prices, you don't think, oh, okay, this iPhone costs like 700 quid, but, you know, it's better than the Android, that's only 600 quid, it's only 100 quid difference. But then when you factor in in-app purchases, which they say, like, Apple users have, like, it's an average of, like, $100 a year or something they spend on purchases, it suddenly becomes like, oh, well, now they're about the same price or whatever after a couple of years of using it because of the extra 30% you're being charged in the App Store. And it's a case as well that the consumers pay for it because developers and stuff generally don't want to add a 30% like tax on themselves. They'll often raise their own prices by 30%. If they can't do that realistically, like was a case of a like gym app, which after the whole virus happened, tried to do a app purchase system where they'll do like video classes and stuff, where previously they just helped you set up like gym memberships and get you to classes. That was the whole purpose. Beforehand, when the transactions were based on real world stuff, they didn't have the 30% tax. Now that it's become an in-app purchase, there's a 30% tax on it. They stopped doing it. They just couldn't do it because it was like, oh, okay, we can't do that. So that's like a big thing that Epic's trying to get, not rid of, but at least make competitive. They want it to be a case of you can pay with PayPal instead of the Apple's payment method, and PayPal's not going to have a 30% cut. So then Apple would have to compete rather than having a monopoly within iOS. Yeah. That is the short version of the 65-page document.
Well, thank you, Sarge, for putting that into more perspective. Because, like, all I saw was Monopoly and Epic just wanting it to be more fair against everyone else.
Yeah, that's the very short version.
And what's more, it seems like Epic Games was prepared for this. Like
so prepared.
It sounds like they started making moves to, do what they needed to do, and they had everything ready, and knowing that Apple and Google even were going to respond the way they did, and then they responded in turn very quickly, which I think is like you're saying. Like, I've got nothing against Epic Games either per se. I like the idea of them kind of going after these big corrupt possibly companies and like putting them in their place. I mean, like, no, what you're doing is wrong, and we're gonna tell you how you're doing it wrong, and we're gonna set you straight.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
I do want to quickly say, like, the best case and worst case scenarios I want to go over this. Best case scenario, Apple has to compete in a more open market within iOS. Then if you use Apple products, you're likely going to have cheaper in-app purchases. That's the good thing that should come about, providing the complaint for injunctive relief is settled within the plaintiff's favour. Epic is the plaintiff. Worst case scenario would be Epic making its own monopoly, but that would be much harder than Apple. They'd have to expand even further. Like, worst case scenario would be if Steam and like Origin and Microsoft Store and every other like games launcher suddenly vanished. Then Epic could have a monopoly. Like, the worst case scenario is far, far less likely than the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is like 50 steps away if every one of those steps goes wrong. The best case scenario is 1 step away if this goes right. Which is why I'm on Epic's side right now.
Right.
But I don't want it to be like, Epic's amazing. They're still a big company, and this is still going to increase their profits.
What is this, Obsidian?
Yeah. Business is still business, but Apple's been criticised. Like, I've been following this for months. Apple's been being criticised by Tim Sweeney, the head of Epic, for just so long now. And it's clear that this was a full game plan. They scaled this out. They were like, yep, they reduced the prices in-app by 20% by having an Epic direct payment, which is in violations of Apple's TOS for developers. And they did that intentionally so that Apple would basically ban Fortnite and just like make them suffer for it. So then they had a proper reason to just throw this 65-page legal document out there, which obviously they didn't write overnight. As Jared said, this is obviously something that's been like planned out for ages. So yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing. So yeah, hopefully this will result in something good for all consumers.
Yeah,
but
I hope so too.
Any follow-up questions, or do we want to go to the more fun, exciting stuff? Because apparently people don't like my legal talk.
I do. I like it being spelled out, and you're very good at it. So the Google Marketplace doesn't have, or Google Store, whatever app thing doesn't have the same taxation, or is it just lower?
Oh man, this is the thing. There's not quite as much information on Google, mostly because I've not seen a complaint for injunctive relief against them. It seems to be Google slightly lesser. It sounds like Google still has a high tax from what I can tell, but there's not as much, like, control right there. With Apple, as well as not being able to offer a different way to purchase a thing, you can't even acknowledge that there are other ways to get the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like Netflix is an example I've seen of it, where on the Netflix app, they're not allowed to show you any way to purchase it other than the Apple way. But obviously you could purchase a Netflix subscription on your computer, which would be 30% less. And then you can still log in on the Netflix app on your phone. So last I heard, they might have actually like removed the entire option to get a Netflix subscription on the app. I heard something about that, but I can't confirm it. I don't have a smartphone, which is actually really unhelpful at this point. But yeah,
I don't either.
But yeah,
I mean, well, I have a Samsung, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I don't put Apple trash on my Samsung. I mean, Apple stuff.
Caedo, okay, Caedo showing some serious bias now. I will say that I have only owned. Actually, I think I've owned 2 smartphones technically, and my last smartphone was an iPhone. So I use an iPhone happily for a while. Never bought an in-app purchase, but I used one happily for a while.
You probably saved yourself a lot of frustration and problems.
Yeah.
Too. And money.
I was just amazed you could press the
likely.
screen. I'd only got like earphones about a year before it. It was amazing.
So are we good to move on to the
I think we should probably move on.
to the QuakeCon?
For the sake of watch time, if nothing else.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about the QuakeCon at home thing that QuakeCon was doing, and it was much more community oriented, kind of as we assumed. From what we're gathering, none of us watched it.
Yeah.
Did any of you?
Did any of you viewers watch it?
There were definitely people watching. Like, some people did enjoy this. To be fair, there were people who were watching who I'm sure enjoyed it. Plenty of people probably loved it. There were lots of, like, personalities on there from the interwebs, so I'm sure
Yes.
for fans of those people, it was pretty cool seeing, like, here's this creator I like on the Bethesda Twitch. That's fun. It's perfectly fun. Perfectly fine. Kind of wish there was anything interesting going on rather than it just being what.
Oh yeah, they have been.
Literally what I complained about last time, where it's just like, it just feels like a YouTube channel making entertainment content
Yeah,
rather
it
than anything else.
it maybe like had a bit of a variety show, like weekend show kind of thing. I mean, still all related to video games, obviously, but
Yeah.
some playing, some previewing, some teasers of trailers of teasers.
And all very positive and pro Bethesda when you're on the Bethesda Twitch as well. Which I think
Yes.
might be my biggest complaint about it. Because I'm fine with people having, like, variety entertainment content on their streams and stuff. That's obviously what I watch a lot of streams for. But when it's the company doing it, it's just like, hey, we're just going to have some fun and not say anything negative because we're the company and we're not going to do that. That'd be stupid. It just...
Yeah.
What's that meme of like Obama giving the Medal of Honor to Obama or whatever?
Yeah.
It's essentially that. It's
It's rewarding himself.
yeah. Well, and the face can be switched out for anything. It's it's a meme template at this point. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a bit of a conflict of interest there.
Well,
Just a bit.
yeah, like, they're technically not doing anything wrong.
No.
But
No,
it
they're
feels
not.
just like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of like Rooster Teeth Expo. That's primarily their everything. Everything is about us kind of thing, isn't it? They do down in Austin.
Obviously they've got a lot of their own stuff, but I'm pretty sure they had like lots of external things that would go there as well. I don't know if that still happens because I only ever saw bits of it from like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much it's changed.
You do have to remember that this is a very different format than the actual convention too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were just primarily doing what is logistically the most possible to do at the time. Because I mean, I'm sure you guys can talk about this as well. Like, collaborating over the internet is not as easy as it sounds. It's not as quick as it sounds. Like, it's not fast.
Oh no, I literally had 2 people get back to me for like just very kind of relatively small things where one of them was like a week after the initial discussion, another one was like a few months maybe after the initial discussion. Like, it can be a real problem, and it's very rarely a case of it being like, it's someone's fault. It's just like, no, life's busy. It's as simple as that.
Especially when you've got, like, for between us and like even yourself, it's 8-hour difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do still wake up at American times.
You do. It's an easier time to record when everybody's asleep.
It's more so it's just too hot in the day.
That too.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sat here sweating right now, and it's the evening. It's
Yeah.
middle of the day. I could either be asleep naturally or pass out.
Yeah, it's easier just to sleep through the heat anyway. So
Yeah.
I know. So Juicehead, who was actually part of one of the QuakeCon at home event things, like gameplay somethings that they did. He also did a roundup. When we have the chance, I do like calling attention to other Bethesda YouTubers just to switch things up. He mentioned several things like from the schedule itself and highlighted them and stuff like that. in his video that we linked below. He mentioned that there was the Doom Eternal DLC teaser trailer, the Ghostwire Tokyo little presentation that one of the developers that the developers were doing, saying you can pet the dog in Ghostwire Tokyo. That's a very important thing to say.
If you've got a dog in a game anymore, you better be able to pet that dog.
I mean,
it'll actually lose score if you can't pet the dog.
There's a Twitter account. Can you pet the dog?
Yes, I follow that one.
That's
we should promote that one too.
Yeah. Are they just? I can't remember if that's actually their. See, I follow them, but I'm checking on Twitter now to check what their actual @ is, and I don't know.
I think it's just called "Can you pet the dog?"
I typed that in and it didn't come up with anything.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm now scrolling through.
Well, anyway, they were also previewing the Colossal Problem event that's coming up in Fallout 76. There was Arkane. I believe Arkane was talking about the development of Deathloop and showing like a, I don't know, kind of like a vertical slice type thing of their process and like world building and stuff like that. Again, I didn't see it myself. I just saw like a clip of it in Juicehead's video, and I saw like previews of ESO's Dark Heart of Skyrim, which is one of the big Elder Scrolls Online things that people are really looking forward to, which is basically an ongoing saga in the area of Skyrim where we are all pretty familiar with at this point.
Sky what?
You know, the Morrowind place.
It's Far Cry with swords.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's Fallout 3 with magic. But Juicehead was also mentioning that like the stuff that was mentioned about 76, besides Colossal Problem, was just stuff that like kind of already happened in the schedule, which was funny. But even so, we do have a new Inside the Vault.
Yes.
That I imagine you have some rigorous notes on, Sarge.
Not really. I mean, I made a video covering this. It was like an 8-minute video where only 5 minutes were talking about it. Because the Colossal Problem, like, big event was supposed to arrive with patch 21. It didn't. It's now arriving on Tuesday, hopefully, unless it gets delayed again. Fingers crossed it doesn't. Meat Week has been moved back a little bit. That's a community event sort of style thing. It's a public event that happens every hour for, like, a week, so that's cool. And a bunch of stuff is changing in the PTS, but the PTS just opened back up, like, not that long ago. But they're testing out One Wasteland, which is, like, level scaling enemies, Daily Ops, which are, like, a new daily that's supposed to be quite challenging and possibly has a timer on it, which, one thing I've mentioned about that is it better not be like the old Vault raids with a timer with tons of doors that don't open and terminals you have to log into. If they just make it go through, kill this stuff, it's all open, perfect. If they put terminals and doors in there, that will ruin it, because Fallout 76 is not good at quickly letting you do anything, actually. Actually, until they've dealt with the meat pile issue as well, that's just going to be unbearable.
Oh yeah, I had my frame rate go down to single digits in Radiation Rumble. Holy crap, dude. I'm glad you mentioned that. I just got flashbacks.
Yeah, Radiation Rumble's very difficult right now. Quite a pain. Actually, did we talk about Patch 21? When was... Patch 21 was recently. Patch 21 kind of broke the game. I made an angry video about it. It was that bad.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were very disappointed.
Yeah, it broke more things than it fixed. It also broke, like, a few main quests. So new players who hadn't done those quests yet were like, oh, I can't complete an ounce of prevention, which is, like, from the main quest, and it's also a original main quest that you need to complete before you can do the Wastelanders quests.
Ooh.
So yeah, they have hotfixed that one now, and I think it's working for people. I have no confidence as well, because in patch 21 as well, they said they were going to fix, like, oh, we're adding in, like, deep-pocketed plans for the Secret Service Under Armour, and we're doing, like, half a dozen other fixes. That did not happen. Like, they said they'd done them, they said they were coming, and then they just weren't there. And it's just like, oh, cool. So half of this we could just ignore because it didn't actually happen. Great. It was just...
Yeah, I do want to mention it fixed the camp issue that I had,
and broke everyone else's camps.
I have also deleted my camp since and made a new one. So, but I wanted to make sure that part was fixed first.
Yeah, like they did fix some stuff, but they broke more.
Yeah, they messed up a few things.
Yeah,
but
the game just got worse after patch 21. just objectively it got worse. Like, at best, I was having people comment saying, like, oh, the game doesn't seem any worse for me. I haven't seen that many new bugs, at least not that many. Like, that was the best kind of defense people were giving for the patch when I made an angry video about it. Because it's like, it just was bad.
Yeah.
Now's probably not the best time to get back into Fallout 76.
Oh.
Like, a month ago, brilliant time to get back into it. Now, maybe leave it a couple more months.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Although Nuclear Winter still works well. Like, that, now that they've stopped doing anything with it, they're at least not making it any worse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a silver lining. If you don't touch it, it doesn't break any further.
And you gotta jump in to get your daily score if it's not too annoying to do.
Man, every day I'm so close to making an angry video about score.
What would it pertain to? Score is the battle pass system, by the way. Totally free as long as you own the game.
Yes. Yeah, the fact that it's free stopped me having like initial complaints. But now I kind of want to do a proper piece discussing how it could have a negative impact on players themselves as like human beings by creating an incentive to play the game every single day in order to get limited time rewards. And there's a whole thing of FOMO and the psychological effect it will have, which kind of forces you to go into the game each day due to the rewards being that way, and due to the score being somewhat limited, and how it also pushes you towards bloodied builds, which are already the meta, in order to get a repeatable XP gain.
That's the fear of missing out effect.
Yes, FOMO.
I don't know about any of this stuff.
See, that's why I need to do a full piece about it. I'd want to legitimately go into the whole psychological aspect as well.
Yeah.
Because I do think there's potential for harm from the Battle Pass system the way it currently is. However, they've said there's more stuff coming in the future to earn score, which could alleviate that. So I'm always just on the edge of my seat about making a video about it. And I've never quite fallen off the seat, but God, is it close.
Yeah. Are you going to rant about making it, wanting it to be free to play as well at some point?
No, that's not actually something that bugs me too much. Like,
No?
I totally get the free-to-play angle, and I'm like, yeah, I'd be perfectly happy with it going free-to-play. I have no problems with that at all. But it's also not something I'm, like, feeling that strongly about one way or the other, so I've never really had anything to say on it.
Okay. Yeah. now that we've properly synced up, Halo Infinite's been delayed.
What?
I don't know anything about this.
Nor me. I haven't delved into Halo since I think Halo 3.
Reach. Halo Reach was the most recent... No, the last Halo game I played. I think I played a bit of Halo 4 over at, like, a friend's house. I've only ever completed 2 Halo games, but no, this is essentially just... Halo Infinite has been delayed till next year. It was going to be a launch title for the Xbox Series X. It's now not going to be. They've cited COVID as, like, a big issue impacting it, which is definitely true. However, the game was also criticised heavily for the graphics of it.
I remember hearing
and
about
I must admit,
that.
yeah, when I was watching it, the best explanation I can think of is everything looked like it was made of plastic. Like, I don't think visually it was necessarily bad on a base technical level, but it was just like they made everything look a bit plasticky.
Like real smooth, like too smooth.
Yeah. Like there's not enough surface imperfections, and just everything's very clear cut, and yeah, it didn't look at all real. That was my big critique kind of on it. People were saying like so much different things though that I'm genuinely curious if there's like an ocular element to it where people are seeing things in slightly different ways and they kind of hit just this perfect sweet spot of, for some people this will look one way, to others another, similar to like Uncanny Valley and all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, do you think it could have been one of those situations where they could have been just watching a poor quality version of the trailer?
Yeah, I actually had to go and watch a few different versions just to make sure about that. There definitely are some poor quality ones there, and YouTube compression doesn't help with some of that stuff. But even when I watched the high quality stuff, I was still like, no, everything still does look a bit like it's made of plastic.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm still not a fan of that. Like, it looked better, but I'm still not a fan.
That would certainly explain why it's being delayed then, because clearly whatever they showed was, like, early content.
Well,
like, if it's delayed, then clearly they're not done with it, so maybe they're going to fix those issues. I mean...
Well, that's the thing. They said at some point... it's annoyingly not in this article we've linked, but at some other point, they'd said it was kind of like... There were some artistic choices they took as well. Nothing was, like, super clear from what I found, but it sounds like they were going for a slightly different look at the same time. But how much of that look was actually in there and how much of it was just, this is still an early trailer, is hard to say.
Interesting.
That's the whole Halo Infinite thingy. Actual news is just it's delayed, but do let us know in the comments what you thought of the actual look of it, because that is genuinely something I'm quite interested to hear about, because it's weird just seeing, like, oh, this thing looks amazing to me versus this thing looks terrible to me, when it is technically the same thing. It was very interesting, I found.
Well, yeah, I guess we have yet to see. I have no reference of it, so like I'm only going by what you guys are saying. But I can see there was I think it was some photo mode images or something, or maybe even developer images of a game they made, and there is a way to make things look toy-like in one way or another, just by like altering the lighting or perspective or something like that. Like
potato mode.
Hopefully it's hopefully I'm hoping that it's not something just in all of the textures and meshes where they have to go through and rework everything, because then obviously that would make it take way longer to redo or fix.
If you do want something to look different, though, you can just add in a bunch of filters, which is what Last of Us 2 has done with its most recent update.
Hey, yeah.
We had to get at least one good segue in there.
Good, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Good job.
So, yeah, The Last of Us 2 has had an update, and this is something I'm really excited about this update, despite the fact I don't own The Last of Us 2, and I'm not really ever planning on picking it up.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, so first up, there's a bunch of filters. These just make the game look different, so like a sepia tone, black and white, that kind of stuff. I have NVIDIA Ansel, I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I've got filters I can use in games. It's very cool. I recommend looking at some of them. You can get like pixel styles and like make it look like it's a comic book or whatever. It's really cool stuff.
That is cool, actually.
And on top of that, they've added some new difficulty settings, where they've added a proper permadeath mode, which I love being an option in game, and a grounded difficulty, which apparently should be familiar to Last of Us fans.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's been so long since I played the first one, and I've barely even played the second one still, so...
Okay. But yeah, it's a new difficulty setting, and yeah, it's not the simple... Like, the difficulties I don't like is what Skyrim does, where it's just damage modifiers, and that's it. What I like with this is they say ammo, upgrade and crafting materials become scarce, removes invaluable tools for survival, such as disabling the listen mode, which I'm guessing is like the Hitman Assassin's Creed style thing.
It's kind of like a sonar, essentially.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, it deactivates like certain elements of the HUD and stuff like that, and I just love there being options for that kind of a difficulty setting. I'm a huge fan of interesting difficulty settings, and Fallout 4 survival mode is probably my favourite difficulty setting in a game, specifically because it changes so much.
Yeah.
And with the right modifiers, you can make a game feel completely different.
Yep, which Fallout 4 does.
Yeah, it's like Fallout 4 on the base game is just kind of like a fun, action-adventure, it's kind of comical almost, because it's so stupid at times. Fallout 4 survival mode is, I'm going to die, this is the post-apocalypse.
Yep. Those first raiders you encounter in Concord, they will kill you.
You do not fight them at the start in survival mode. You just do not do that. You're like, okay, I'm going to risk the mole rats to get dog meat, but I'm not going up against anything with a gun until I'm like at least level 5. Come on.
Yeah. Because you just die.
Yep.
That's how it goes.
What I'm hoping for from this is that more and more developers will just go for interesting difficulty settings in games. Because we're slowly seeing more of them appear. This is just another step in the right direction.
Yeah, limiting the I guess quality of life things. I wouldn't say that. It's limiting the things that make it too easy or much easier.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, I want to say I don't want this to suddenly be like a case of all games just make tons of really difficult difficulty settings and no easy ones. I think the imperative thing is having the choice of how do I want to approach this game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If I need to smash through a game, I'm gonna play it on easy.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I don't want a challenge. Sometimes I just want to zone out and kind of lose myself without a challenge. Like, I've got no problem admitting that sometimes I just want to play and have fun, and sometimes that just means kind of casual play.
Yeah, something somewhat sacrilegious, but I'm a person who would like an easy setting for the Dark Souls games. Not because I want to beat through them and be like, yeah, I beat Dark Souls, look at me, but no, just because I want to explore the world, because I love the whole aesthetic of it all and how it's all interconnected. I want to just be able to, one time, just walk through without being petrified every step I take.
I would agree with you 100% on that.
Or falling to your death so much.
I mean, I feel like any difficulty changes you can stop that. That's just Dark Souls controls.
Add a safety parachute or a bungee cord just in case.
That'd be quite funny.
and make it like completely different from the rest of the colors of the game. Just make it bright orange or something like that.
No, it's rainbow colored, and a unicorn flies to save you if you fall somewhere with no bungee.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's clearly how it should happen.
I'd be super into that.
That feels very much like a mod thing, more than an actual development.
Probably.
Yeah, now it will exist. You have willed it into existence just by saying it.
Yes!
It's possible,
because that is how the mod community works.
Well, speaking of willing things into existence, Obsidian fans have apparently willed a new, definitely Fallout-inspired action RPG. I mean, what else could it possibly be, guys? I mean...
could be a different platformer.
It could be. Could be. So, this next story is Obsidian is working on something that isn't Avowed or Grounded, which are two games we know about, and it's being directed by studio design boss Josh Sawyer, which is a fairly famous name. Yes. We don't know any more details from that, really.
Just a tweet.
Yeah, it's literally the full body of a tweet is Josh Sawyer saying, I am directing my own project now, in brackets, it's just not Avowed.
That is a teaser, teaser, if I've ever heard one.
That's another one. Yep, it's a tweeter teaser.
Yep.
Trailer.
It's actually really cool. Like, I mean, everyone knows Obsidian. They've got their record. It's really cool to see them coming out with more and more stuff. Like Grounded, have you guys played it since it's come out?
Yes.
It's a lot of fun.
I have not.
Avowed.
I talked about it last PIPCAST, and I was annoyed that I had to update my machine to actually play it.
Oh, no. Well, that aside, but that, and then, there's Avowed's coming out, which, I mean, they calling it Skyrim killer, but, I mean, every game that is a first-person RPG fantasy says that. It still looks really cool.
I mean, we're gonna talk about the true Skyrim killer shortly.
Yeah. I'm just really happy to see more.
I just realized what you're talking about.
More good stuff. That's all.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. Hopefully, it'll be something cool. There's a decent chance it'll be an RPG, but
yeah,
we don't know.
Remember, my tinfoil hat suggestion was it's going to be a VR game.
Ooh.
It could be. That's the thing. At this point, there's very few stupid guesses that can be made.
Yep.
It's like, I'd even go so far as, because there's going to be someone who will say it, there'll be someone saying we're making a Fallout game. Now, that, I think, is a stupid suggestion, but not incredibly stupid. That's, like, with how little information we know, even that I'm not going to put into full stupidity, just like, probably not.
Yeah, like, if 76 outsourced Atom Shop content and it was Obsidian making it, like, it's making something that's outrageous.
You know what I bet it is?
What?
A mobile game.
Okay.
On the iOS.
That's right.
With in-app purchases. It's a Fallout killer, but it's killing Fallout Shelter. Boom.
Oh man.
Hey, you never know, though. Like you said, anything. It could be literally anything. And if
I mean,
Yep.
technically, it doesn't even say it's a game.
that is true.
That could be a show.
That is
Could
very
be
true.
Could be merch. Could be just a merch line.
Yeah,
Tap dancing video.
Josh Sawyer tees.
there it is.
Oh, man.
Combination of all of those things.
I feel like we should move on to the next topic.
Yeah.
Let's see here. GTA radio host Laszlo, which I didn't realize until actually seeing this that was the guy's actual name. I didn't realize that. Laszlo is, if you're familiar with GTA, very iconic radio personality since there's been radios, I think, in the game. But I guess he is leaving Rockstar, which is kind of a big deal, I think, because Rockstar's had a history of losing their writers and, you know, the people that make their games. There's not,
and this guy is atmosphere to their games.
I mean, this guy's without Laszlo in a GTA game. I mean, it just won't feel like a GTA game. Yeah, I don't know. he's not the first to leave. He won't be the last to leave. I mean, I'm sure I wish the best for him. I mean, you got to do what's best for you. For all I know, working for Rockstar is a nightmare, and he's trying to find better fields to graze in. I don't know. But yeah, it does seem like that the company has had this happen before, and I don't remember who it was that left before. I'm trying to skim over the thing. Dan Houser, co-founder. Yeah, the co-founder. So there's just a lot of original people of the company that aren't there anymore. So I think when this sort of thing happens, it brings to question like the future of these games. Is like when all the people who made these games great are gone, all you can do is hope that the people that take their place can
are they leaving it in good hands, or are they just gonna
so it's kind of
throw it in a blender and be like, nah, we're taking it in a new direction.
Yeah, it definitely makes, I think, if you're a fan, and like I said, I'm a fan. I like the GTA games, I like the Red Dead games. You know, am I gonna lose sleep over it? No, of course I'm not. But it definitely just makes you kind of wonder what's gonna happen next. And
yeah, do you guys remember when EA games were good and not just surrounded by all kinds of drama all the time?
I mean, the games aren't necessarily always bad now.
Yeah, I should have prefaced it more so by like, if EA games weren't surrounded by just gross feeling.
Remember when it felt good to buy an EA game?
Remember when EA Sports and contained other games like SSX, and it was extremely fun. And also Criterion games and the Need for Speed franchise and Burnout and stuff like that. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to is DJ Atomica. I miss that dude. I wish he was around as a radio host in something now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he is, because man, he was a memorable presence in SSX and Burnout and Need for Speed. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Just goes to show all good things must come to an end.
No! EA keeps killing things. Criterion doesn't exist anymore.
Sometimes the end is having your head cut off. That's just how it works.
And for every end, there is a new beginning.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. For those who still love Burnout and want to support the original developers, get Dangerous Driving, because that's the original developers making a Burnout game outside of EA's umbrella.
Oh.
Okay, I'm done with that topic.
Nice.
Well, onto the Skyrim killer now, I guess.
Yep.
It's time. Prepare yourselves.
So a game is coming out at some point called Solar Pass, which is an action RPG, and I'm just going to try and do a dramatic reading of the little bio that it gives itself. Meet Solar Pass, the hero who, due to a series of hilarious and poor life choices, manages to bring chaos and disarray to a utopian world. He must find the villain-beating artifact to vanquish the immortal and stop him from spawning all manner of evil monsters and creatures. Also cheese.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what we know about the game.
this is going to be a goofy action RPG that is not serious in any way.
No.
Which is kind of refreshing, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like games that don't take themselves seriously too.
This is very clearly just something which is like, just boot it up, have fun, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
And I could do one of those games. So I've added it to my Steam wish list already.
Yep. And
Just like, yeah.
this became a topic simply because I shared it with both Sarge and Jared before the podcast.
Yep.
And it was part of my wish list, so now it's part of Sarge's. So
Yep.
maybe you could add it to your wish list too, those of you listening, and we could suddenly, like, all get Sir Whoop Ass when it comes out and be like,
Yeah.
like, leave a review, be like, Caedo told us to get this. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
There's no release date yet, unfortunately. But this is from a studio who brought us, before or after, Battle of Brains and Switchball. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
don't know anything about those games.
no, there's a puzzle games. 3 puzzle games.
Okay.
One of which is on the Apple Store.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Sarge, this was supposed to be a fun topic to end on. Sarge, you ruined it.
No!
What have you
Sorry.
done?
Oh, God.
I'm taking advantage of this time to yell at you because I never get to yell at you.
Well, speaking of ruining things, Fallout ruins a lot of stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. As of late, yes.
Oh, throwing that shade over the very
That's
shadowy
right.
area
I
already.
already told you I woke up a little butt mad, a little anally anguished.
Dude.
So I'm good. I was telling, for context, I was telling Jared and Sarge that asking if they've ever had a dream where they were working and they woke up and they feel like they didn't sleep. That was last night for me. I was shopping in my dream. I was shopping for boring stuff like lunch meat and checking to see like what the best price was to like how much each slice of meat was worth so I could get the most for my money. This is the most boring crap I've ever dreamed of, and it was work to even try to get up afterwards because I didn't wanna. Just makes me glad we're recording later in the morning than before. Rant over.
Okay.
So it's a Fallout topic.
Fallout topic? Did you say
Okay.
Fallout topic?
I did.
Well, what do you know? We just so happen to have one. Worst offending plot devices. I mean, this could be anything and everything. How do we even approach this? It's not really a full-on talking discussion topic, but it has multiple points that we can discuss.
It's different plot devices that were used throughout the Fallout games that you're just like, by the end of whatever thread it is, you're just like, why? Or what? You know, kind of thing. Like that kind of reaction is what we're talking about. And the one that came to mind as soon as basically the topic was come up with was Colonel Autumn's Super Rad-X injection that he does in Fallout 3 when James overloads Project Purity and they're both trapped inside the safety glassed area. And your dad dies, but Colonel Autumn shows up later in the game because he plays a little animation where he injects himself with some mysterious serum that saves his life.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think when Mantis was mentioning it in passing, he was just like the MacGuffin injection or whatever. But yeah, so, like that particular thing, I didn't, when I first played through Fallout 3, I didn't notice that animation because obviously it's an emotional moment with James dying and like up against the glass, he's like, run,
Yeah.
and then dies.
Yeah, I've never felt happier in my life.
Right, because I like no more strings attached.
Woo! I gotta kill everyone now! Fallout time!
I don't get judged by my dad anyway. But like you later, when you go to Vault 87, you suddenly get ambushed by Colonel Autumn and two Tesla Enclave troopers. I'm pretty sure they're Tesla troopers. But yeah, and you're just like, what? Are you the same guy? Are you a clone? Like what?
I saw
What
you
just
die.
happened, but it happened so late. You're just like, I don't know if I remember this character because he wasn't even memorable really to begin with.
Right.
Like he just shows up. He just shows up out of nowhere. He's like, oh, the Enclave's taking over this project, and you gotta escape. The more worrisome bits are the actual Enclave soldiers walking around rather than Colonel Autumn, because he's not even.
Yeah. He
He's
shows
kinda
up
laser
3
pistol.
or 4 times throughout the entire story, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not enough. Like,
Yeah.
people cite Handsome Jack as, like, one of the best video game villains, and a huge factor in that is that he's, like, constantly watching over you. But Colonel Autumn's, like, one of the worst, because it's like, oh, and here's a guy who has, like, maybe 20, 30 lines if you explore all the speech options.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And he doesn't have anything like super interesting
No.
about him. Like I haven't played Fallout 3 in a long time, but I cannot recall anything that made him like a human character or made him relatable in any way whatsoever, which is kind of part of what makes a good villain by, knowing something about them that's besides they're bad.
He, in and of himself, is more of a plot device than a character.
Yeah,
Circling back to the topic. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Which is a
kind
bit of a problem.
I kind of get the
Yeah.
feeling that Colonel Autumn probably pushes papers mostly,
Yeah.
and was kind of like, well, no one else is gonna do it. I guess I'll go do it. Hi, I'm this random person that you've never heard of, and I'm not that interesting, but it's my duty.
It is like talking to someone who's just on full customer service voice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what Colonel Autumn's at. Just
Yeah.
he happens to be working for the Enclave.
That makes sense. Also, it should mention that he is basically the hand of President Eden, and President Eden is stationary. So,
Yeah.
like, maybe he's just a plot device in the sense that he's a human extension of President Eden, because President Eden can't go anywhere. He can watch people, like with the iBots and stuff like that, but like he can't, get up and move. He can self-destruct really fast and easy.
Whoa.
Which is another
Yeah.
fun
Oh,
plot
yeah,
device.
Why did he include a self-destruct option and not wheels?
Yeah.
Like, I know which one I've got as a priority if I turn into a robot.
Yeah.
When Colonel Autumn came to mind first, but I think I've complained about President Eden as a whole probably more.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter that we've talked about this, I think, Sarge. It doesn't matter the dialogue choices you make whatsoever with President Eden when you actually run into him. He will self-destruct no matter what. He's like, carry out my will. I'm gonna go now.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like, I haven't played in so long, but I'm sitting here trying to think about the Enclave in general, and like nothing stands out about that faction as being that interesting that I can remember. Maybe I'm just not remembering it, but
No, they do just kind of become cookie cutter bad guys in Fallout 3.
So,
yeah,
like, they've got this rich past,
right.
but they're just kind of, I am evil.
So
Carry on.
you could say that one of the worst plot devices is the Enclave. Not because the Enclave in of itself is not an interesting faction, or has, like you said, it doesn't have a rich lore. It's just that Bethesda didn't implement it well enough to make it interesting.
You should preface that by saying in Fallout 3.
Yeah, in Fallout 3. Sorry.
And especially in Fallout 2, where, God, they just suck. Man.
The build-up is so good.
No, that is genuinely something I like about Fallout 2. They do that well.
I've never played Fallout 2.
You watch Frank Horrigan murder an entire family. That is your first taste of the Enclave.
Well, see,
Like, as soon as you leave your village.
but that's what I'm talking about. Like, obviously, the Enclave has a history of being an interesting faction, but I feel like in Fallout 3, especially, like we're talking about Colonel Autumn and all this stuff, like, it's just nothing stands out to me as them being an interesting faction. And I would argue that Fallout 3, that they themselves as a faction and a plot device is somewhat of a failure.
I mean, well, if you have, like, government resources, you can kind of go any direction you want, kind of thing. So, like, once they reintegrated, I guess, the Enclave, they had all these cool scenes that could be made because the Enclave had such vast resources in general.
Yeah.
Like the intro to Broken Steel is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
and even the even, well, just them being everywhere. Like once you hit that halfway mark, or whatever point it is where they attack Project Purity and they're all over the wasteland doing different things.
Yeah.
Like the presence part, that's kind of like the only main thing that keeps reminding you that they're a threat, because otherwise it's just kind of boring.
Well, and they get built up until they are revealed, and then it's just like, oh, we're not actually going to do anything with them, even though we've been building up. President's talking to you, hearing him on the radio all the time. The Enclave's there, they're coming to save us all, and then they show up, and it's just like, this is not.
I think it doesn't help that as soon as the Enclave kind of show up, the main quest line becomes just a point to point where you do this thing, then that thing, then that thing, then that thing.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, you can like skip over half of the main story in Fallout 3 just by going straight to your dad, and that's something I love about it. And the current Fallout 3 playthrough I've been doing for like a year or two now, I still haven't experienced all of the main quest stories, because I'd always like skip over about a quarter of the main quest line. Because I never spoke to, I can't even remember his name, the person you're first supposed to speak to in Rivet City.
Pinkerton?
Was it Pinkerton? No, not Rivet City. Oh, I'm an idiot. Megaton. The guy in Megaton, who's friends with your dad.
Oh.
Barman.
The bar guy.
Oh.
The bar guy, who, because you can skip over him and he tends to want money. Moriarty. Thank you.
I was thinking Sherlock Holmes. Who's the bad guy?
Oh, that's a good one. But yeah, I spoke to him once now, and I made sure to do it in my most like recent playthrough, simply because I never do it otherwise. And that's it's a good thing. The plot becomes more open, but the Enclave just narrows the plot, which I think is a large reason of why we feel they're a bit suitable for this topic.
Yeah. So I do want to counter that with a good plot device in Fallout 3. Yep. What I consider to be one. I'm okay with counterpoints too, for sure. Mm-hmm. The bomb in Megaton.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes.
as soon as you walk in, you're just like, oh, that's why it's called Megaton. Like you get all of these questions as soon as you arrive, and then you find out that you can dismantle it or disable it or blow it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd counter that ever so slightly with saying it's a better character device for deciding like the morality of the character you're playing as, because it gives you like two very clear options to go more towards the good path of disarming it, helping out the town, being a good person, or the evil path of blowing it up for your own gains.
Yeah, I suppose, well, plot device if it's blown up, maybe. Because it moves that plot forward if you blow it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly an interesting...
Because, like, it doesn't do anything if it comes to an end, like, if you dismantle or disable it.
I think it's certainly an interesting... It could be an interesting plot device if you think of it in the way that... I mean, what other game lets you detonate a nuclear device, period?
Fallout 76.
Yeah, 76.
Fallout aside, obviously.
Yeah, and actually every single time the Fat Man's used. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of Fallout, it's a rarity.
Yes.
It's cool.
And I think...
Fallout 3's weapons of mass destructions are pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I fully agree. Fallouts in general.
But now that we've said one positive thing about Fallout 3, let's go back to complaining about it with Fox.
Yeah, Fox! It's your mutie friend.
Yeah.
The one who's lawful good.
Yep.
And
the lawful good mutant.
So dumb.
So what we're referencing here is that before the Broken Steel update, Forks couldn't go in and kind of like save Project Purity when there's a whole radiation issue. You have to go in.
Yeah.
Basically. It's like, no, I'm a super mutant that's immune to radiation. You, puny human, must go in and die.
Yeah. And it was something, it was some bullcrap too, like this is your path.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Like he's literally giving you permission to be a martyr.
Yep.
Thanks.
like that's super important. Whereas living is also important, but they're just totally glossing over that part. Broken Steel fixed this.
Mostly. I'm pretty sure that the like end credit kind of Ron Perlman thing still kind of criticizes you for not trying to kill yourself to save the
Yeah.
day, rather than making a smart choice.
Yeah, which is really silly too.
Yeah.
Because that puts you immediately into a mold of following your father's footsteps, and that's all you get to do. Like, stop. Speaking of plot devices, in an open world game, I know it's about finding your dad and stuff, and reconnecting and getting Project Purity up and running and stuff like that. But that turns your character into only one character with one destiny kind of thing, and that's kind of annoying too.
Yeah. I will say, as a slight counter to that, is that I enjoy the fact it doesn't force you into finding your dad so much.
You're so gentle with your disagreements.
Well, that's because I don't fully disagree. Like, I do agree with the point, but there's a caveat to it, in that it doesn't force you down the path so much. You can still just do so much of Fallout 3 without worrying about it. And that is something that's very good about most of the Fallout games. The openness of them has just got better and better over time, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they have. And there are things, like you were saying with the quest skipping. I don't entirely know if, well, it had to have been intentional to know, like, you could go all the way to the Dr. Braun vault, like, as soon as possible and skip so much of the game.
Yep.
But Fallout 4, you can't really do that. Like, maybe
Fallout 4 has a couple of small intended skips, I think, but they're like such minor stuff. Like,
matters. You are walled off on a lot of things, like the encounter with Kellogg, getting the Institute, the Brotherhood showing up after you get to Kellogg. Like, it's sequential. And also, like, meeting the different factions too. Like, that's all in sequence.
It's a pretty linear path until, like, post-Kellogg. Mm-hmm. Which, in our little notes here, you have put down Kellogg as an offending plot device.
Yeah.
And I was skeptical of that at first, but now that I've said literally just what I've said, Kellogg himself I like, but yeah, up until you've not only killed Kellogg, but been through his brain, I feel like up until that point, you're kind of tracked in a bit too much on the main story. Whereas Fallout 3 is very open on the first half of the main story and then very linear on the second half. Mm-hmm. Fallout 4 kind of flips it, where the first half you have to do the same thing every single time, and then once the factions open up a bit, you really get some choices in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, that makes sense. Because then you do get to kind of, like, work with everyone and then choose the final.
Yeah, but
the final faction.
You have to go after Kellogg because he stole your son, and that just makes him the worst person ever. I like Kellogg.
Well, he also kills your significant other right in front of you, so there's that too.
Yeah.
That little
I didn't know her that well. It's fine.
We just met.
We get to know him for like 10 minutes. We're a synth anyway. Whatever.
Oh, dang.
Implanted memories.
Oh, dang. Throwing out the S word. Though there is some truth to that, though. I mean, it's set up in a way to make you kind of feel something for that character. But you're right. You've only technically, if you're playing it for the first time, you only known that character for a few minutes. There is no emotional connection. So why should you care? And I think that's in of itself a poor plot device. For that reason, it's just like they're trying to create this emotional connection, but there isn't. There hasn't been time.
I was about to say that it's very difficult or almost impossible to really make that huge emotional connection in such a short frame of time, but then I remembered the movie Up, which has, like, an opening, like, animation scene, basically, which forces you to care about the dead wife of the main character. And it does that in, like, 30, 40 seconds, I think.
Pretty short time, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally possible to get an emotional connection in a short period.
Sure.
I kind of failed on the Fallout 4 front. I don't know a single person who cares about Nate or Nora.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter. They're a very generic wife/husband, unfortunately. Like, nobody seems to hate them, but it's like, it's like the person down the street. You don't really know them. I wish well for them, I guess.
but I'm not gonna go out of my way.
Yeah.
It's okay. So the I've brought this up a few times too. Like the player agency kind of is kind of fighting against the actual characters that Nate and Nora are trying to be, or that the developers wanted them to be, because it's hard to make the open world setting and have options, and at the same time have role playable characters that you can build how you want.
And
I don't know. That goes back to
honestly, I think the only game that does that fairly well is New Vegas. New Vegas is the only game where I kind of care about the main character while still getting to really choose who the main character is.
Yeah, it leaves a lot open to interpretation. Like they don't step on that. They're just like, you're a courier, but what else were you? And there's so many other things that you can actually use for that.
But they get the initial point of revenge, which I think is a very powerful motivator and a strong connecting factor as well.
Yeah.
And oh man, I'll talk about it more in a bit, but I will ramble on a bit about the opening section of New Vegas.
That can be compared too, because it does start essentially with shooting someone, but it's just not you this time.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
It's very
it's
different.
not a first-person perspective. I'd be interested to know the difference if you played as the character holding the baby in the pre-war section.
That, I feel like that would change things a lot.
Yeah, because then you play as this character for 5 minutes or whatever, and then suddenly you get murdered whilst trying to protect your child, and then you end up as the spouse.
I think you just fixed Fallout 4, Sarge.
Dude.
Boom! Be so much more impactful. You literally experience your own death before switching character. That'd be great, man. The customary Bethesda, why haven't you hired me yet?
I was just gonna say.
Or you could actually follow through with the synth route that Dima talks about in Far Harbor, because you do die. It could be like a Sixth Sense kind of thing. You are dead. You're just a synth now.
I think it's safe to say that there's probably any number of possibilities that would make it more emotionally impactful, and it just didn't happen. you know?
Primarily too, like meeting up with Sean and being like he was doing the whole creeper thing, like he was watching you the whole time, hoping you would show up. Like, what? Why? Why even draw it out? Why even as if it's hurting you in some way? Like, that makes him a sociopath. And or psychopath. He
probably is, though.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He's
Raised
the leader.
by-
He's a
raised
leader
by-
of an organization that thinks they're essentially God. So
Raised by the intellectuals.
yes, yes, intellectuals.
Until now, I've never been annoyed about that, but I do feel like Fallout 4 is maybe a little anti-intellectual. Just something I've never considered. But
You think it might be?
the entire Fallout franchise might be, actually.
Yeah.
What makes you
that
say
might
that?
be a topic for another day.
Oh, okay.
I might need to sit and think on this more.
Yeah, write that down for later. Another possible topic in the making. We were really grasping at straws when we were trying to come up with a topic. It's only when I started putting in extra bullet points on one of them when we actually decided on one.
I was just gonna say, if I can add a plot device that doesn't exist but I think would work. Let's go the opposite direction just real quick before we wrap things up or whatever. I think I've mentioned it before, in one of the earlier the first PIPCast that I did with you guys, and I think a really cool plot device would be adding a skill tree for power armor like Skyrim does with werewolves and vampires, and have it be its own separate thing. I just think that would make the freaking thing, the whole idea of power armor, so much cooler.
I mean, I don't know if that would be a plot device unless it were tied into the story, like something you're meant to achieve.
And maybe you're a Brotherhood of Steel power armor dude, then you've got to maintain your armor and you work. But then I guess that takes away from the open worldness.
Yeah,
I
well, it
will
would
say-
work. It would work in that case, though, because you can compare it to werewolves and the companions kind of thing. You do have to join up with the companions. like your standard Fighters Guild type situation, and then you're like, oh my goodness, you're actually werewolves. That's weird. Oh, I can be one? Sweet. Like,
yeah, I just think it'd be
like,
kind of cool to
it
be
could
like a drop troop, coming up,
Yeah.
in the power
like that
armor.
kind of progression.
Yeah.
Or like you would start by meeting up with a scribe who scribes normally don't wear power armor at all, and it could be the situation where you don't necessarily know that they're Brotherhood up until the point to where they're like, oh, here's how you use power armor, here you go, kind of, obviously with more steps, but
Yeah.
like some sort of build up, because like, I mean, that's one of the things that Fallout 4 suffers with too, is the introduction of power armor so quickly.
Yeah, just, I don't know. It's just something that I think about occasionally, especially doing these PIPCasts makes me kind of think about Fallout more than I probably normally would.
Well, that's good.
And
that means it's being effective. that means we're melting your brain with Fallout.
if it's working for me, maybe it's working for you. And I'm pointing at the viewer. I don't know. It was just a counter topic, worst offending plot devices, and then maybe one possible good one that.
Well, you had a couple, but I feel like there's some other ones that we're just not like thinking of right off the bat.
Oh,
Was there
I'm
any
sure.
more that you thought of, Sarge?
No, but people in the comments, please let us know
Totally.
if there's a horrible plot device that you hate in any of the Fallout games. Do let us know.
Oh boy.
Have a proper rant about it.
Yeah. I do want to know also if you think we're horribly wrong too,
Or just horrible in general.
Oh,
or
yeah.
horrible. Yeah.
I like that.
And I think I didn't have anything else written down for plot devices. If I had more time to like think of more things to list down, maybe we could do a part 2 of this if we come up with, or maybe
If
go with
anything
best.
really good comes up.
Go with best in the next one, and then complain about bad ones anyway.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you want to cut out the whole bit that I just talked about with the best one, and we can save that for another one, that's totally cool. Like,
No, we'll leave that in.
you do what you do, man.
That's just natural conversation, dude.
Okay.
I said a good one earlier too, so
Okay.
it's all good. But yeah, so now we're gonna move on to what are you doing?
Well, mostly my usual fare of various forms of indie and horror games that I do on my channel. Between working and very little time, I mostly do that just to try to get videos out on the regular. But other than that, I've been playing some Sea of Thieves with some friends of mine. Have a couple of videos up on the channel now. Probably will have a few more. Don't know if we'll do more than that. Just depends on how well it does, that sort of thing. But it's really fun. Like if you've never played it and you've got some friends to play with and you like pirates and stuff, it's so cool. It's so fun. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm hesitant to mention Far Cry New Dawn, not only because I'm not the only one with it, but because I've really barely played it, and I only added it because I couldn't think of anything else. So I have played it, and all I will say is that for it's Far Cry, it's post-apocalyptic, it's cool from what I've played, but that's all I've got to say on it. I'll let Sarge talk about it more because I'm sure he's probably played it more than I have. So
I beat it.
there we go.
Yeah, 20 hours.
And
I got through the thing.
I'm sure you loved it, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. In particular, I'm not going to do any spoiler talk, especially seeing because Jared is literally playing it. But the final 2 bosses I felt were perfectly balanced for me. Like, each fight was very challenging. I got down to, like, real low health tons of times and had to, like, really fight to get back to a point where I could take on the combat. It was just... The final 2 fights went really well for me in terms of a challenge perspective, because I didn't get a game over during either of them, but I was constantly just terrified. It was perfect. But yeah, I really enjoyed Far Cry New Dawn. Got through it pretty quickly, so I've had time to play some other stuff. I actually went back to a couple of games, Skyrim and New Vegas. New Vegas, I've just been trying to play for a little differently and explore some things that I didn't spend as much time on, and also like see some inconsistencies and things. Like Is it Niptum that gets burnt down by Caesar's Legion?
Yes.
Am I getting the name right? Yeah, that. I've always heard people talking about how Caesar's Legion booby-trapped the entire town, which is incorrect. They only booby-trapped the town hall, and the houses are booby-trapped by the residents previously. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing, which I hear slightly misquoted, and now I've educated myself on. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Skyrim, I'm practicing for a challenge run, which I'll probably be starting in 4 or 5 years' time. It's not a joke.
When you're not tired of Skyrim again.
Well, hey, we'll still be waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, so,
Well, it'll be on the run-up to Elder Scrolls 6. I've got a Skyrim challenge run planned, and I'm just kind of doing some practice now. Yeah, I'm already prepping for Elder Scrolls 6. I got a long game plan with my YouTube channel. I just need to stay above water until I get to the end point.
Are you going to use all the keywords you can for when we know more about the Elder Scrolls 6? Like, if it's in High Rock, be like, High Rock, where are they? Breton? Run? Something?
No.
Okay.
The run is meticulously planned because it's a very difficult challenge run I've got planned. So there's already. I don't want to go too much into it. Gotta build up the suspense over the next 5 years.
Right.
But yeah, I've been having fun.
Because people remember stuff that long.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, like, my most difficult challenge run. It's a realism mode run, I'll say that much.
Okay.
So, it's going to be proper permadeath, and I've got so many modifiers, it's crazy. Hence, I'm doing a test run right now, just to see if I'll actually be able to remember the stuff.
I saw a lot of people, really, really, really enjoyed your roguelike thing, too.
Oh, I'm Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, roguelike's amazing, but it takes so much time to do that I can't do it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, let's just do a character build cinematic machinima-esque series or something. Why not? That's easy, right? No.
Nope.
But, aside from work stuff, we're also, a video I uploaded at the time we were recording this, how many players does Fallout 76 have, which please do check out, because I've spent weeks working on that. Go give it a look or whatever. I also managed to play a game for fun last night. I played Darwin Project with a bunch of people in a, whatchamacallit, a Discord server. I got together with a bunch of people. Actually played a game with, like, a group of friendlies and stuff. Also had the luxury of being, like, one of the top people in the game.
Oh.
And Darwin Project's like this. It is technically a battle royale, but I don't like saying it's a battle royale because it doesn't feel like your standard BR game where it's like this frantic thing of tons of pro shooters. It's kind of like a survival BR game where you have to worry about cold, there's loot drops and... There's not like loot drops and stuff in the same sense, but it's a very simple loot system where you just craft your abilities and like arrows and traps and stuff. And there's also a game director who was like the head of the server in the little friend group we were playing with, which was lots of fun. Especially seeing as he kept targeting me just over and over again. Because here's the thing, I won about half of the games that we played, and obviously for a BR game, that's a very high win ratio. And it was a case of myself and one other person, we got put in duos just by the game as standard like a few times, and we won every time. So then it became a case of, okay, we've got to split these two guys up and try and make the teams more balanced. So because we were all within like a friend group, it was like, okay, put the potentially weaker players with the stronger players, get the even players in the middle. It was nice. It made things a bit more even. It was lovely. But yeah, it's a great game. I highly recommend it. Darwin Project, they're doing no updates to it, so I'd recommend checking it out, especially if you've got a friend group to play with, because I've not bothered playing it online. I'm just like, okay, if I'm with that group of friends, it's a bit of a laugh. I want to say the DM, the games master, the GM, I suppose, was like putting a manhunt thing on me where people get rewards for killing you and you show up on the map and everyone hunts you down. He kept doing that to me and I kept having to survive. There's fun stuff with it. Maybe not from the perspective I just put it there, but I do want to keep in mind I was one of the good players. So if you're one of the less good players, you kind of can get given advantage by the GM, which makes it feel like a more balanced BR game, even if the skill of all players is unbalanced.
Yeah. I'm I like the aesthetic of it, for sure. It's got the Fortnite aesthetic almost.
It's a little cartoony. There's also a mode that can be activated called Beach Party, where you get like double resources, your cold meter doesn't go down and gets heated up, and you wear like beach outfit like a swimsuit.
Beach Bros. I'll bring back the Beach Bros.
Yeah, the game master kept activating that towards the end, so like the end victory pose was one of us jumping up and down wielding an axe whilst in like a rubber dinghy, and it's one-piece swimsuit, which is quite amusing.
Yeah. I'm seeing the comments though, they're like sad that the game's closing down and stuff like that. Like
it's not closing down, but they've got no additional updates coming now.
Oh, okay. So they've stopped.
So they're not changing anything.
Oh, okay.
But it's in a very good place, so it's not like it necessarily needs a ton of changes.
Yeah.
And it's a simple game as well. Your two ways of dealing damage are swinging with an axe or shooting with a bow.
Okay.
It's very simple, very straightforward, makes it easy to get into. It might be my favourite BR game for that reason.
Cool.
Interesting. I'd never even heard of it. I've
like
never
that.
even
So
seen
speaking of-
pictures of it.
Yeah, same.
That's weird. I guess there's just so many BR games these days. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There really are.
But it sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. Definitely worth looking into, though. I think I got it free as well. I'm not sure if it was on, like, a free, like, a weekend they had it for free, or if the game's always free. But I imagine it's, at the very least, cheap.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just says download now on their website, but I don't know if that's just the client or what.
I got it through Steam.
Oh,
it is
okay.
free to play, so
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, play for free. Yep.
yeah.
Cool. Free is always good.
Yes. Free is nice. So is it my turn to tell about all of the Skyrim I've been playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm playing all Skyrim, if you didn't know.
You playing a lot of Skyrim, Caedo?
Yeah, and speaking of Breton, I've been playing a Breton mage initially, and then working up the rest of the skills because I am following through with the rest of the work I need to do with my ultimate leveling guide for Skyrim. It's not a short video. It's not going to be a short video. It's probably going to be one of the longest guides I've put out in a very, very long time, if ever. Because the voiceover is at 25 minutes right now, I think.
Nice.
Something like that. And I'm not done. Like, I have 4 other skills to go over and other, like, details to add in throughout. Because there's so much. Like, it's Skyrim. People who've played it, probably a lot of you that are listening, you know, there's so many methods and different ways to do things. And I'm trying to compile the best ones into a comprehensive guide. And just the methods to multiply your experience has its own chunk of the video. Maybe even 2 of them, because there's so many. So
Nice.
I guess look forward to that whenever it's done. I can't promise when, but I am constantly working on it. The heat has an effect too. I'm not going to turn my fan on when I'm recording. Like, I'm a Sarge on this one. I'm not going to turn my fan on when I'm recording voiceover because, like, now I would have 2 different versions. Like, the one with the fan, the one without the fan.
Yeah.
So, and applying any filters to it will make it sound different compared to
It can be horrible.
the rest. So there's that. Also, I added video chapters to my Skyrim Data Artifacts guide. That is a community post that should be going up, or should have already gone up, Saturday in the morning. So if you're going for the Skyrim Data Artifacts and using my most popular guide to do so, now you can scan through the video's timeline and actually find the artifact you're looking for. Unless you're looking for all of them, then just watch the whole thing.
Twice. Watch it twice.
Watch it
on
twice.
separate accounts.
Yes.
Yes.
And finally, on the playing thing, the Hellraid DLC for Dying Light came out. So Nelsar and I got to jump in and play some of that. It's a short dungeon crawl, but it's a very different. It's very different in comparison to the rest of the game, which is zombie parkour. A lot of this is very classic, like, think 90s dungeon crawler kind of look to it. Still, like, fully 3D and stuff like that, but it's kind of got that vibe, like skeletons wandering around, coming at you and stuff like that, and some of them different colors casting spells and all that stuff. Like, it's very different compared to the rest of Dying Light, but that's part of what makes it fun. And the goal is, of course, to get to the bottom of this little tower you're in. It's called Hell Raid, so you're going down, obviously. And by the time you get to the bottom, you get like multiple final waves, and then the boss along with them. And you finish it, and you end with so many coins, and you can exchange those coins in the actual game for use of weapons that were in the DLC. So,
That's cool.
So like you can bring some of the DLC weapons into the vanilla game and wreck some zombies with maces and bastard swords and stuff.
Ooh.
It's pretty cool.
Nice.
So.
Killing zombies.
And if you have
with
somebody to play
swords.
Dying Light with, like Techland has been updating this game. This came out in 2015. They've still been adding DLC to this game. Like,
That's impressive.
Dying Light, despite the name, does not die. And it is still so much fun, especially if you have someone to play it with. And especially during times like these, you might want to find more co-op games so you can spend time with your friends even though you're not together. So I strongly recommend Dying Light if you haven't tried it, because it is a blast with other people killing zombies.
Yeah.
If you like zombie games too. But yeah, that's I think that's it. Anything else to add?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Well, tell us what you've been playing and doing, and also tell us what you have to say about the Fallout topic and it's our worst defending plot devices, or try to balance it out with some good ones in the Fallout series. I know we try to do that too. You can be featured as a comment of the cast if we take an interest in what you had to say. So in 2 weeks, we might have a little presence from you if you decide to comment. And if you want to see any of our content, you're on my channel. If you feel like supporting it, patreon.com/CaedoGenesis. I would appreciate it. And Sarge and Jared can be found on their channels, BADCompanySarge and Jared Gaming. Those are linked down below.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you for being here. Sarge, Jared, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You guys are great. Okay. And we should do the final sync before we stop the thing.
What on?
I remembered. On 3, 1, 2, 3.